Um, Good morning, everyone. Good day, everyone. It's been a while. Um, I first of all should apologize. My last video wasn't as expected, but in terms of quality, and I've not been able to go fix it up. I really am sorry. But when I have time enough, I would work on it and give you guys the best of videos that you deserve. Um, Please forgive me. Today I was going through some things, studying process and I felt it would be of use to everyone that might be very interested. It's a bit, it's Spring, it's Java, it's EE environment, and it's quite interesting. And the beauty of it is knowledge. The seeking knowledge has been much of an interest and goes a long way to help stay relevant. Okay, so what's the core of this conversation? The relationship between the Servlet container and the application context for quite some time has been a conversation has been going through my mind, and I started touching it to get much of clarity. Okay, so there's this perception that I used to have, saying application context is this abstract kind of an environment, and then other misconception follow, whereas it is not true. So what's the relationship between the Servlet container and then the application context? I think this diagram would help me describe it better. So let's jump into it. This diagram here shows a browser request that is being handled by the Servlet container. So the Servlet container checks the Web.xml, looks at the dispatcher servlet that best will handle that request, then picks the dispatcher servlet and then reads the Web.xml file for the context configuration location, which is the context path. On reading the context path, it builds or creates an instance of the application context. The application context is where Spring comes into life. So the dispatcher servlet is more or less the bridge between the Servlet container and the Spring environment, which is the Spring application context. And so the Spring application context is the environment that aggregates all of the Spring context together. This is a load controllers, relevant controllers, load services, load repositories, load configure views, and the rest of them. Then you go down to specific controllers and views, and then it goes vice versa for the conversation. So that's basically the summary of what happens when conversations take place, when request enters the dispatcher servlet. So it's not as if the application context is seated on the servlet container. Even as a matter of fact, the servlet container does not know anything about the application context. It is not, the application context is not even a servlet thing or whatever. It is the Spring environment where Spring starts working, where Spring starts the conversation. So where Spring starts the conversation. So the whole conversation now starts with the whole conversation boils with the request entering the server looking at the best dispatcher servlet that should handle the request by looking at the Web.xml for details, and then calls the dispatcher servlet. The dispatcher servlet goes to the Web.xml, check the context param elements, and then locate the what is it called, the configuration location, which you would call which by venture you would call the what is it called, Spring config XML file or servlet XML file. Sorry, not Spring config XML, servlet XML file, and then it locates the file, and then on locating the file, it's then use the configurations on the file to build the application context, which is the environment where Spring starts conversation, and then the conversation continues down to controllers and the rest of them. So if you now look at all of this, certain things that if you now look at all of this, you now understand the flow of control. Even at this point in time, if I ask you a question that where does filter comes in, do filter act at the application contents level? The answer is no. Filters work immediately even before the dispatcher servlet. And so when you see your Web.xml configuration, you see declaration of filters, and filters do not even depend on the application context. They even do not depend on your dispatcher servlet, but they are at the center between the servlet container and then the dispatcher servlet, which is at the center of this location, let me say this point. And so that's why you now discover that when you declare filters and then you want to auto-wire classes, your classes within the application context, you end up not being able to get downline conversations, that is to say, possibly database calls or whatever. They become ineffective. It is because the filter does not comes far before the application context and the dispatcher servlet. I hope we've been able to get it clearly. So let's come down here and see what this summary is. It is explanation of key pieces, what it does, Web.xml, bootstrap Spring MVC and points to the Spring servlet.xml, the context configuration location tells Spring where the XML configuration for being controller is, Dispatcher Servlet, the main entry point, receives every request. Application context, where Spring creates all bin. Controller handles HTTP request. View resolver resolves logical view names into GSP pages, and GSP pages, the actual, we don't need that much. I think that's that. So let's see this life cycle. It says end-to-end request life cycle. It says the browser sends the request to the log. The browser sends a request, which is /login, to the servlet container, and then the servlet container create an instance of the dispatcher servlet by looking at the best dispatcher servlet that will handle that request, and then instantiates it. The dispatcher servlet then receives the request and then checks the Web.xml for the context part. Look at the location of the file that holds look at the location of the file that holds details about details configuration files that is needed by the application context to load Spring related classes, controllers, and the rest of them. So 3 says context configuration location. So yes, the context configuration location is used to locate the XML file that is needed by the application context, and when that is discovered, the application context now allows now locates the controller that is attached to that request, goes to the controller, runs the logic, sends the view that is needed, and then it goes back to, if a filter it goes back to the response of the dispatcher servlet, which, if a filter is actually attached to the conversation, goes to the filter back from those as response, and then the conversation goes outside the application. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. I'm really grateful. Have a nice day.